Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Tammy and I own Walnut Creek Bath Boutique. Today I am back with a quick tip for Soapmaker 3. This is by request from Nick, and he is wanting to just see the text summary report and how I do my end of year taxes. So I do use Soapmaker 3 for pretty much everything. I don't have QuickBooks and I don't have anything else. I just use Soapmaker 3 and I'm actually quite happy with it. I find it very, very, very easy for me to print off this report every year and just give it to my tax guy. So first we have to talk about when to print this. From what I understand, this is what I would kind of consider like this living document. It's a document that will change day by day by day. And that's why it is important for you to print it January 1 or as quickly as you can after January 1 before you do anything else in the software. So as soon as January 1 hits, you're going to want to print 2021 tax report so that it is an accurate portrayal of what you have. And I think that's all due to like your current stock value. The government wants to know, this is the United States, by the way, don't know about other countries. The government wants to know what is your current raw material value, and what is the value that you have in ingredients in your stock, like made items. And so as soon as you show that you've made a new soap, all of that changes. Your raw material value changes, and your like that will go down, but your made stock value will go up. And then say you purchase something, well, your raw material value will then be higher too because you have more money in your raw materials. So it's just this living document that is always changing. And if I'm not mistaken, it's been a couple years since I even kind of really looked into this, and I just did real quick, but I couldn't find for sure. But I'm pretty sure that that raw material and stock reporting part of your tax summary report, it's you can't do a snapshot. So you can't say, well, in 2019, what was my raw material cost and value and my product value? It's more of a living document that changes as soon as you input something. It changes those numbers. So I don't believe that's changed. I think it's still the way it is, and so that is why January 1 I print off this report. Again, if you're not going to touch the software for a few days, it's not going to be a big deal, but you definitely want to print off this report before you do anything else in the software of the new year. I'm going to show you real quickly, gotta find my glasses, real quickly, a couple different options. So you're going to go to preferences, and you probably did this when you first got the software, but I'm just going to go over this really quickly with you again. So production and taxes, this last tab on your preferences tab. So right here is where you are going to just tell the software how you want it to calculate your supply stock. So value. So you have the supply stock value, and you can either do current market value, which is based on the most recent purchases that you've made, or you can do it based on the actual price of every single lot used. I didn't know what to do. I don't understand the difference. These will wildly change your numbers, ridiculously change the numbers on your stock end of year report or tax report. I don't understand it, guys. I really don't understand it, and I'm not going to get into which one you should do. Well, I did, because I do have somebody doing my taxes for me, is I went through and I chose one. I printed the report. I went back here and chose the other one, and I printed that report, and I took them both to my tax guy. And I said, I don't understand. Here's the two different reports. He's the one that went and he said, well, this is the one I want you to use, and this is the one I want you to give me. And it was because it was more closely in line with what we had been doing in the years prior. And he just didn't want to make a change in how he was submitting my tax information. So that's why we chose this way. And I don't ask questions, I just give him the report. There's another thing in here that will change your tax summary report, and that is, let me find it. This one down here. So purchase overhead costs. So I have adjust item cost to include overhead share. Basically what that means, when I make a purchase, any sort of overhead that I incur in that purchase, shipping, overhead costs, taxes, sometimes every once in a while I pay taxes, and all of that is distributed between everything that I buy on that purchase order. There's pros and cons on that, definitely. And I think I did go over the pros and cons of that in another video, but just to touch on it really quickly, I like having my shipping and maybe taxes distributed over the items that I purchase, because I feel like that is my real cost on that item. I feel like shipping is a huge portion of what an item costs me. And so that's why I go ahead and keep that on there. Now, the flip side of that is if you're buying 50 pounds of wax and maybe a 16-ounce bottle of fragrance oil, well, that 16-ounce bottle of fragrance oil is going to show as a higher cost to you because it costs a lot to ship 50 pounds of wax. So you just have to choose what is important to you. And yeah, that's kind of how I've decided to do it. I do include shipping, but I know a lot of people don't, because the shipping can go on the tax summary report. It is going to show as an expense. You don't have to put it in as an expense. It will automatically put it in as an expense for you. Have I mentioned I love this software? This is really nice. You do not have to put that in as a separate expense, even though you are not including it in the cost of your goods that you're purchasing. I think that's awesome. And we're going to go over to reports, and very towards the bottom, tax and income summary. Give it just a second to load. There's a lot of information there, right? So here's your tax summary report. I'm just going to do by last year. All right, so let's just start at the top and work our way down. So this top part, this is what I was talking about, that living document. This is what would change. Every time you make a change, this changes. Basically, this total value of supplies, tax guy needs to know this. Total value of products in stock, total inventory value, raw materials and made materials, total inventory value. Over here, we're looking at last year. Now, removed stock costs. This is everything for me because of those settings I chose. This is everything other than written off stock and written off supplies. Okay, that's not included in this part of this report. This is advertising, donation, personal use, and other. So from what I understand, I need this when I go to pay my taxes, and I have to put how much money I have used as advertised, not advertising dollars per se. This is advertising stock. So let's see, if I am putting a soap in a bathroom and at a craft show, I write that off per se as an advertising expense. If I am donating a small item or two at a craft show for a fundraiser where they're going to be auctioning off those, I put that as a donation. And if I'm pulling stock from my stock, if I'm pulling a deodorant, or I'm pulling a soap or whatever, it's for personal use, I am liable for taxes on all of those items. I have to pay my state sales tax that I owe. So I have to pay taxes on anything that I pull from my stock. So yes, just to let you know that you do have to pay taxes on anything that you use personally, give away, or use as advertising. Advertising as in products, not advertising expenses as in this middle box where I have advertising up here. This advertising is usually my Facebook boosting or I know it's usually just Facebook and Instagram boosted posts at this point is all I do in advertising, but anything like that where you're actually paying, that's an advertising expense as opposed to the product. So this middle thing, this is where that other tab, when you're doing a purchase order, other expenses, business expenses, other expenses, that's where that tab goes. That's what falls into here. So these categories really don't mean anything to my tax guy. He only cares about the total. This report will give him the total. These are more for me. How much did I spend in my craft show fees? I spent over $1,600 in craft show fees. How much did I spend in education this last year? General business expenses, that's going to be my insurance and different things like that, my any kind of fees that I have for running my business that is not really anywhere else in the category. But anyway, it's a long way of saying this category doesn't matter to my tax guy. It kind of matters to me, and I can go back and look over the years to see where I'm at with all of these expenses, or even by quarter, I can kind of figure out what I'm spending on education. And then my sales is total product sales less the tax collected, and then my net sales. And then down here, it's telling me that all 180 orders are not shown in purchase overheads because item costs were adjusted to include these overheads. So that's just saying this purchase overhead part is 0,000. And that's because I have chosen that one tab down there at the bottom on that preference tab to have my overhead already included in my purchases cost. Yeah, so then supplies, that this total will go over here to expenses. My total materials and packaging purchases will go here. And then my total cost down here. And then finally your net income. And there you go. So this is my default tax. I just have one tax. It's 7% for Indiana. My tax liability is down here, what I owe in taxes. And then so January 1, I will come in here. I will print this report off, and I do send this with a spreadsheet to my tax guy. Now, why does my tax guy like a spreadsheet too? I'll show you. I'll show you my spreadsheet, guys. Hang on, let me find it. Okay, so here's my spreadsheet. And this has the rest of the information that he wants. So, monthly spreadsheet, he probably isn't interested in all of these monthly totals. This is kind of more for me to see what I'm spending per month throughout the year on ingredients, office supplies. I'm not in consignment right now, but I still have this tab here because if I delete it, my state tax owed down here deletes. So I just keep it there. Just keep it as a spot here. I also put my miles here for him. So I'm sure he looks at that quite a bit. And then down here is my sales. And then this is like, I'm in a consignment, but I don't pay fees. She doesn't charge me anything, which is beyond amazing. But I don't owe taxes on those sales because she collects and remits those taxes. So those are sales from that shop that I don't have a liability for. And then my personal sales, and then I kind of keep track of how much I owe in sales tax. And then right here in the middle of that, I have my yearly home expenses totals. So as of January 1, I'm going to come in here and I am going to total all of my water bills. I'm going to total all my electric, phone, gas, and internet. And then I'm going to put all those totals in here. And then he has whatever he does with the square footage in our home to have the percent of those as a business expense. So I go ahead and give him this, and he uses both those two sheets of paper is all he gets, and he can do our taxes quite easily with those two. And these two pieces of paper gives him what he needs to know to do our taxes. So there you go. I hope that was quick enough. I tend to ramble sometimes, so I'm sorry about that. But hopefully you got something out of this. Again, just hopefully a quick video on end of the year taxes. Print that report off, give it to your tax guy, or if you do your own taxes, it's just going to help you an awful lot to have some of those numbers. But if you're like me and you don't know which one to do, and you do have a tax guy, I took them both. It's like, you tell me which one, and I will give you that one every time. If you have any questions or suggestions, I'm always up for suggestions on videos. So if you have any more for me to do, I finally have my camera, I have my microphone, I even have a light now. So I think I'm set. Guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Ah!